When Naomi Brooks handed change to a stranger at her roadside flower stand, she had no idea the golden ring on her 6-year-old niece's finger would shatter both their lives. Ethan Caldwell froze the moment he saw it. His late father's missing heirloom, the one that vanished after the funeral, now wrapped around a child's tiny hand. He accused her of theft. She defended her dead sister's honor. But what neither of them knew was that the real thief was sitting in a mansion, pulling strings to destroy them both before the truth could surface. What started as suspicion turned into something neither expected, a love that would force a millionaire to choose between his family's lies and the woman who made him feel alive again. But when his stepmother hired investigators, threatened to take Lila away, and humiliated Naomi in front of high society, Ethan faced an impossible choice: stay silent and keep his inheritance, or burn his family's reputation to the ground for a woman the world said he shouldn't love. Subscribe right now and comment where you're watching from, because what happens next will restore your faith that love can bloom even in the hardest soil. The morning sun painted the South Carolina coast in shades of gold and pink. Naomi Brooks wiped her hands on her apron and stepped back to admire the flower buckets lined up along her roadside stand. White roses, yellow daisies, purple lavender bundles tied with twine, each one arranged with care, each one a small prayer that today would be better than yesterday. "Aunt Nay, can I put the sunflowers in front?" Lila's voice rang out, bright as the morning itself. Naomi smiled at her niece. 6 years old, all energy and curiosity, wearing a yellow sundress that matched the flowers she loved so much. "Sure, baby, but be gentle with the stems." Lila carried the bucket with both hands, her small face scrunched in concentration. The golden ring on her finger caught the light, a simple band that had belonged to her mother. Naomi's heart squeezed every time she saw it. Her sister Maya had worn that ring every single day until she died. A year now. A whole year since Naomi became the only parent Lila had left. "There!" Lila set the bucket down with a triumphant grin. "Perfect! Perfect!" Naomi agreed, ruffling her niece's curls. Cars hummed past on the coastal road. Most didn't stop. The tourists preferred the fancy shops in town, places with air conditioning and credit card machines. But Naomi's stand had something those stores didn't. Flowers picked fresh that morning from her own small garden, still dewy and alive. She needed 3 good sales today. Just 3. Enough to cover groceries and keep the lights on. A black luxury car slowed near the stand. Naomi straightened her shoulders, putting on her best smile. The car pulled to the side of the road, gravel crunching under expensive tires. The man who stepped out looked like he'd walked off a magazine cover. Tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair swept back from his face. His white button-down shirt was crisp despite the coastal humidity. But it was his eyes that caught Naomi's attention, grey-blue and deeply sad, like storm clouds holding back rain. "Good morning," Naomi said, her voice warm and professional. "Looking for anything special?" The man approached slowly, hands in his pockets. Up close she could see the tension in his jaw, the shadows under those striking eyes. "I need flowers," he said quietly, "for a memorial." Her smile softened into something genuine. "I'm sorry for your loss." He nodded once, sharp and quick, like talking about it hurt. His gaze swept over the buckets. "White roses, do you have white roses?" "I do." Naomi moved to gather the best stems, her fingers working with practiced ease. "These are fresh this morning. They'll last a good week if you change the water daily." "Thank you." His voice cracked slightly on the words. Lila appeared at Naomi's elbow, peering up at the tall stranger with open curiosity. "Are you sad?" she asked in that blunt way children have of cutting straight to the heart of things. "Lila," Naomi warned gently. But the man's expression shifted. Something almost like a smile touched his lips. "Yes," he told Lila honestly. "I am sad. My mama died too," Lila said matter-of-factly. "But Aunt Nay says she's watching over us now, like a guardian angel." The man's throat worked. That's a nice thought." Naomi wrapped the roses in brown paper, her hands moving quickly to cover the awkward moment. "That'll be $20. The man pulled out his wallet, but Lila was already counting out change from the cash box, an important job Naomi had given her to practice her numbers. $20, Lila announced, her small hand extended with the bills and coins mixed up together. The man crouched down to her level to accept the money. That's when he froze. His eyes locked on Lila's hand, specifically on the golden ring circling her tiny finger. The color drained from his face. His hand, reaching for the change, trembled in midair. "Sir?" Naomi's voice sharpened with concern. "Are you okay?" He didn't answer. He was staring at that ring like it was a ghost. Lila looked at her own hand, confused. "What's wrong?" The man stood abruptly, his movements jerky. "That ring? Where did you get that ring?" Naomi stepped between him and Lila, instinct flaring hot and protective. Excuse me. The ring." His voice was rough, urgent. "On her finger. Where did it come from?" "That's none of your business," Naomi said coldly. "I need to know." He ran a hand through his hair, agitation rolling off him in waves. "Please, it's important." "Aunt Nay?" Lila's voice was small now, scared. Naomi picked up her niece, settling her on her hip. "I think you should take your flowers and go." The man looked between them, something desperate and wild in his eyes. Then he seemed to catch himself. He grabbed the roses, dropped a $50 bill on the counter, and stumbled back to his car. Naomi watched him drive away, her heart pounding. Through the car window she could see him gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles, his head bowed. "Why was he so weird about my ring?" Lila whispered against Naomi's neck. "I don't know, baby." But unease curled in Naomi's stomach. "I don't know." Ethan Caldwell sat in his mansion office, hands shaking as he held an old photograph. His father smiled out from the frame, younger and healthier than Ethan's final memories of him. And there, clear as day on his father's hand, was the ring. The same ring he'd just seen on that little girl's finger. His father's ring, the family heirloom that had vanished after the funeral, never to be found again. Ethan had searched everywhere, torn apart the estate, questioned the staff. Nothing. His father's lawyer, Mr. Blake, had filed the loss with the insurance company and added it to the list of Ethan's regrets. But he'd just seen it, on a child's hand, at a roadside flower stand. His phone was in his hand before he could think. "Mr. Blake? It's Ethan, I found it. The ring. I found it." The old lawyer's voice was cautious. "Ethan, that's wonderful, but where?" "On a little girl, at a flower stand on Coastal Highway." The words tumbled out fast. "She was wearing it. Just wearing my father's ring like it was nothing." Silence. Then, "Are you certain it was the same ring?" "I'm certain." Ethan closed his eyes, seeing it again in his mind. The distinctive gold band with its worn edges, the way it caught the light. "It was his ring, Blake, I know it was. Then we need to understand how she came to possess it." Mr. Blake's voice was measured, calm. "The ring disappeared after the estate liquidation. No trace of it in any inventory, which means someone took it." Anger burned in Ethan's chest. "Someone stole from my father, or purchased it legally from whoever did take it," Mr. Blake cautioned. "Don't jump to conclusions. This woman and her niece may be innocent." Ethan looked at the photograph again, his father's face, the ring that had been in the Caldwell family for 3 generations. "I need to go back. I need to talk to her." "Carefully, Ethan. Very carefully. If there's a criminal matter here, we handle it properly." But Ethan barely heard him. He was already pulling up the location on his phone, marking the exact spot of that flower stand. Tomorrow. He'd go back tomorrow. He did what? Tara Jameson's eyes went wide over her coffee cup. Naomi sat across from her best friend in the small bakery kitchen, Lila occupied with coloring books in the corner. "Just stared at Lila's ring like he'd seen a ghost, then demanded to know where we got it. That's creepy." Tara set down her cup with a sharp click. "Rich white guy rolls up in his fancy car and interrogates you about a ring? Girl, that's a whole parade of red flags." "I know." Naomi rubbed her temples, but he looked so broken, like seeing that ring hurt him somehow. "Not your problem." Tara's voice was firm. She ran the bakery stand next to Naomi's flowers, and she didn't take nonsense from anyone. "You've got enough to worry about without strange men making scenes." Naomi glanced at Lila, bent over her coloring book, Maya's ring still on her finger. "Maya wore that ring every day. She never took it off. I remember." "So where did she get it?" The question had been circling Naomi's mind all day. "I never asked. She just always had it." Tara leaned forward. "Your sister worked a lot of jobs before Lila was born. Cleaning houses, waiting tables. Could have been a gift from someone, or she could have bought it at a thrift store. Does it matter?" "It matters to that man. Again, not your problem." Tara pointed a stern finger. "You don't owe strangers explanations about your family's belongings. End of story." Naomi wanted to agree, but something in that man's eyes haunted her. Not anger that she could have dismissed. It was the grief that got her, raw and real and achingly familiar. She knew what loss looked like. She'd worn that same expression in the mirror after Maya died. "I just have a weird feeling about this," Naomi said quietly. "Then trust your gut and stay away from him." Tara reached across the table to squeeze her hand. You and Lila are doing fine. Don't let some rich stranger with issues complicate your life. Sound advice. Naomi knew it was sound advice, so why couldn't she shake the feeling that this wasn't over? Morning came too early. Naomi was at her stand by 7, the sky still painted in pastels. Lila helped arrange the flowers, chattering about butterflies and her favorite colors. At 8:15, the black luxury car returned. Naomi's stomach dropped. Lila, go wait by Tara's stand for a minute, okay? But now, baby, please. Lila's face fell, but she obeyed, running toward the bakery setup 30 feet away. The man emerged from his car, and this time, Naomi got a better look at him in the full morning light. He was handsome. There was no denying that. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, those stormy eyes. But he carried himself like someone used to having the world bend to his will. Money, power, entitlement. She'd learned early to be wary of men like that. I'm sorry about yesterday, he said, stopping a respectful distance from the stand. I shouldn't have reacted that way. It was inappropriate. His apology surprised her. Naomi crossed her arms. Was there something else you needed? I need to ask you about that ring. His jaw tightened. The one your daughter was wearing. Niece, Naomi corrected sharply. She's my niece, and like I said yesterday, it's none of your business. It is my business. He pulled out his phone, swiping to a photograph, because it belonged to my father. He held up the screen. An older white man smiled out from the image, his hand clearly visible, and on his finger, Naomi's breath caught. The ring looked identical. That can't be right. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. My father died 8 months ago. That ring disappeared from his estate shortly after. It's been in my family for 3 generations. His voice cracked. And now it's on your niece's hand. So please, I'm begging you, tell me how you came to have it. Naomi's mind raced. Maya had died a year ago. She'd worn that ring for as long as Naomi could remember, years before she got sick. My sister owned that ring. It was hers. Your sister. He latched onto the words. What was her name? Maya. Maya Brooks. Saying her name still hurt. She died last year. That ring was one of the few things she left behind. The man's expression shifted, emotions flickering, too fast to read. And before that, where did your sister get it? I don't know. Frustration burned in Naomi's chest. She just had it. It was hers. She didn't steal it from anyone, if that's what you're suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything, but his tone said otherwise. I just need to understand. You need to leave. Naomi's voice hardened. You're scaring my niece and disturbing my business. Whatever you think happened, you're wrong. That ring belonged to my sister, and now it belongs to Lila. End of story. Please, leave, now, before I call the police. He stared at her for a long moment, then his shoulders sagged. I'm sorry, I'm handling this badly. He pulled a business card from his wallet and set it on the counter. If you change your mind, if you're willing to talk, please call me. Naomi didn't touch the card. She watched him return to his car, watched him sit there with his head bowed before finally driving away. Only then did she pick up the card. Ethan Caldwell, Caldwell Enterprises. Her blood ran cold. Caldwell. She knew that name. Maya had worked for the Caldwells years ago, before Lila was born, when she was still trying to save money for nursing school. She'd cleaned their house, their massive estate on the hill. Maya had worked for this man's family. No, Naomi whispered. But the pieces were falling into place and she didn't like the picture they made. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called Tara. I need you to watch Lila for an hour. I have to go home. What's wrong? I need to find something. Please, Tara, it's important. At her small rental house, Naomi tore through the boxes she'd packed after Maya's death, things she hadn't had the heart to sort through yet. Clothes, books, a few pieces of jewelry, and photographs. She found it in an old shoebox, a picture of Maya at someone's birthday party laughing with friends. Her hand was visible, raised to brush hair from her face. The ring was on her finger, clear as day. But it was the date stamp in the corner that made Naomi's hands shake. 7 years ago. Maya had owned that ring for at least 7 years. Long before this, Ethan Caldwell claimed it disappeared, long before his father died, which meant either he was lying, or someone in his family had given it away or sold it years ago. Either way, that ring belonged to Maya, and now it belonged to Lila. Naomi sat on her living room floor, surrounded by memories, and let herself cry. For her sister, for the little girl who deserved more than this confusion, for the impossible situation she'd somehow stumbled into. When her phone rang an hour later, she almost didn't answer. but Tara's name on the screen pulled her back to reality. "Hey," Naomi said, voice rough. "Lila's fine, she's helping me decorate cupcakes, but that guy came back." "What?" "He didn't buy anything. Just stood there looking at your empty stand for 10 minutes. Then he left another business card and drove off." Tara paused. "Nay, what's going on?" "I don't know yet," but she was going to find out. "I'll be back in 20 minutes. She grabbed her purse and Maya's photograph. If Ethan Caldwell wanted to talk, fine. They'd talk. But she was coming with proof. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the flower seller's face when he'd shown her the photograph. The shock, the confusion, the defensive anger she hadn't known. Whatever the story was with that ring, the woman, Naomi, according to Mr. Blake's quick research, genuinely hadn't known its origin, which meant her sister probably hadn't known either. "You're pacing," Mr. Blake observed from his chair in Ethan's office. The elderly lawyer had arrived 20 minutes ago for an emergency consultation. "Sit down before you wear a hole in the carpet." Ethan sat, then immediately stood again. "The woman's name is Naomi Brooks. Her sister was Maya Brooks. Do those names mean anything to you?" Mr. Blake pulled out a tablet, fingers moving across the screen. "Maya Brooks? Yes. She worked for your father's estate 7 years ago. Housekeeping staff." Ethan's heart sank. So she had access to the ring. Access, yes. "But Ethan," Mr. Blake looked up over his reading glasses. "The ring didn't disappear 7 years ago. It disappeared 8 months ago after your father's death. Maya Brooks couldn't have taken it then. She died over a year ago. Then someone else took it and sold it to her. Or gave it to her." Ethan grabbed his phone. "We need to check the estate records, see who else had access." "I already did that after you called yesterday." Mr. Blake's voice was gentle but firm. "And I found something interesting. The ring was officially removed from inventory 3 years ago." Ethan froze. "What?" "It was sold, legally, through an estate liquidation sale when your father downsized to the smaller house after your stepmother left." "That's impossible. I would have known. You were in New York at the time, building your business. Your stepmother handled the liquidation." Mr. Blake met his eyes steadily. "Margaret sold a number of items without consulting you. The ring was among them." The betrayal hit like a physical blow. "Margaret sold my father's ring. She had legal authority to do so, and apparently it was purchased by a pawn shop. From there, the trail goes cold. Your sister Maya Brooks could have bought it at that pawn shop, or from any number of subsequent buyers." Ethan sank into his chair, the fight draining out of him. So Naomi was telling the truth. Her sister owned it legally. It would appear so. And I accused her of... I implied her sister was a thief. Shame burned hot in his chest. "You were grieving. You saw your father's ring and reacted emotionally." Mr. Blake stood, straightening his suit jacket. "The question now is, what you want to do about it." Ethan looked at the photograph of his father still sitting on his desk. "I want it back. That ring should have never been sold. It was supposed to stay in the family. Then you'll need to make Naomi Brooks an offer, a fair one. And you'll need to apologize properly for your behavior." Mr. Blake headed for the door, then paused. "Ethan, I knew your father for 30 years. He would have cared less about the ring than about you treating people with respect. Remember that." Alone in his office, Ethan stared at nothing. He'd spent 8 months drowning in guilt. 8 months replaying every moment he should have been there for his father but wasn't. Every phone call he'd ignored because he was too busy with work. Every visit he'd postponed. His father had died alone because Ethan had chosen profit over family. And now his father's ring, the last piece of him Ethan could have held on to, was on a little girl's finger. A little girl whose mother had died, who understood loss the same way Ethan did. He pulled out his phone and called the number for Naomi's flower stand. It rang 4 times before she answered. Brooks Flowers. Her voice was cold, professional. Nothing like the warmth she'd shown that first morning. "Ms. Brooks, this is Ethan Caldwell. Please don't hang up." Silence. Then, "I'm listening. I owe you an apology. A real one." He forced the words past the shame. "I was wrong to accuse your sister of anything. I was wrong to confront you like I did. I've since learned that the ring was sold from my father's estate years ago. Your sister purchased it legally. It belongs to you and your niece." More silence. Ethan waited, barely breathing. "Why are you telling me this?" Naomi finally asked. "Because you deserve to know the truth, and because..." He swallowed hard. "Because I'd like to make you an offer. I'd like to buy flowers from you, for my company events, weekly orders. I don't need your pity. It's not pity, it's business." Lie. It was absolutely pity mixed with guilt and a desperate need to make something right. "I have corporate events regularly. They need flowers. You sell flowers. It's a fair arrangement. Why me? There are plenty of florists in town. Because I see my own grief reflected in your eyes and I can't walk away from that. Because that little girl reminds me what's important and I've forgotten. Because I need to fix at least one thing I've broken. Because your flowers are beautiful, he said instead, and because I think we got off to a bad start. Let me fix it. Please. He heard her breathing on the other end of the line. Heard doubt and suspicion and something that might have been curiosity. Fine, she said at last. One order. We'll see how it goes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I haven't agreed to anything permanent. Understood. Relief flooded through him. I'll send you the details for next week's order. Mr. Caldwell? Yes? The ring stays with Lila. That's not negotiable. His heart squeezed. The ring, the last piece of his father he could have held on to. But as he said the words, he knew they were true. I know, it belongs with her now. After they hung up, Ethan sat in the silence of his too-big house. For the first time in months, the crushing weight of guilt lifted just slightly. Maybe this was his father's way of speaking to him. Maybe that ring had found its way to that little girl for a reason, to pull Ethan out of his self-imposed isolation and back into the world of the living. Or maybe he was just desperate to find meaning in meaningless coincidence. Either way, he'd see Naomi Brooks again next week. And somehow, that thought didn't fill him with dread. It filled him with something dangerously close to hope. Naomi's truck rattled up the long driveway, and her stomach dropped with every yard. Mansions like this existed in movies, not in her real life. White columns, manicured gardens that probably cost more to maintain than she made in a year. Windows that sparkled in the afternoon sun like they'd never known a speck of dust. Whoa, Lila breathed from the passenger seat. Is that a castle? It's just a big house, baby. But Naomi's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She didn't belong here. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around and drive away, but she'd made a promise. One delivery. She could handle one delivery. She parked her battered truck next to a fountain, an actual fountain with stone dolphins, and gathered the flower arrangements from the back. White lilies and blue hydrangeas, arranged in crystal vases she'd borrowed from Tara. Her best work. Stay close to me, she told Lila. The front door opened before they reached it. Ethan Caldwell stood in the doorway, and Naomi's breath caught. He'd traded his formal business clothes for dark jeans and a simple grey t-shirt. It should have made him look more approachable. Instead, it just made him look younger, more human, more dangerous to her carefully guarded heart. You found it. His smile was tentative, uncertain. I wasn't sure if the directions were clear. They were fine. Naomi kept her voice professional, distant. She held up the vases. Where do you want these? The main hall, please. I'll show you. He led them inside, and Naomi tried not to gawk. Marble floors. A chandelier that looked like captured starlight. Art on the walls that probably cost more than her house. Maya had cleaned this house, had walked these halls with a mop and bucket, while Naomi struggled to make rent on their shared apartment. The unfairness of it burned in her chest. Here, Ethan gestured to a long table beneath an ornate mirror. This is perfect. Naomi set down the vases, adjusting them until the arrangement satisfied her eye. She felt his gaze on her as she worked. Not uncomfortable exactly, but intense, like he was trying to figure her out. They're beautiful, he said quietly. You have real talent. It's just flowers. But pride warmed her despite herself. Aunt Nay, can I see the garden? Lila tugged at her hand, pointing through a wall of windows to a sprawling backyard. A pond glittered in the distance. Lila, we need to... Please, just for a minute? She's welcome to explore, Ethan said. The garden is completely safe. There's a koi pond she might enjoy. Naomi wanted to say no, wanted to grab Lila and run back to their comfortable small life, where rich men didn't make her heart race. But Lila's hopeful face undid her. 10 minutes, she agreed. Stay where I can see you. Lila bolted for the door and Ethan moved to open it for her. Through the window, Naomi watched her niece run toward the pond, her yellow dress bright against the green grass. She's full of energy, Ethan observed. She's 6. Energy is their default setting. Naomi pulled out her invoice, all business. That's $200 for the arrangements, including the vases. Keep them, the vases. Consider them an investment in future orders. She looked up sharply. I don't need charity. It's not charity, it's practical. He leaned against the table, arms crossed. If you're going to supply my events regularly, you'll need quality containers. Those are yours now. Naomi wanted to argue. But quality vases were expensive, and she couldn't afford pride that cost her money. Fine, thank you. You're welcome. An awkward silence stretched between them. Outside, Lila crouched by the pond, fascinated by the orange and white fish swimming below the surface. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan's voice was careful. "About your sister?" Naomi stiffened. "What about her? Did she ever mention working for my father? For the Caldwell estate? She mentioned cleaning houses. Rich people's houses. She never named names." Naomi met his eyes. "Why?" "Because I'm trying to understand." He ran a hand through his dark hair, frustrated. "My father's ring ended up with your sister somehow. My stepmother sold it without telling me, and I need to know if my father knew, if he gave it to her." The question hung heavy in the air. "Your father gave Maya his family ring?" Naomi's voice dripped skepticism. "Why would he do that?" "I don't know. Maybe he was grateful for her work. Maybe she helped him somehow when he was sick." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I wasn't there at the end. I was building my business in New York while he died alone, so I don't know what happened in those final months." The raw pain in his voice cut through Naomi's defenses. She recognized that guilt, lived with her own version every day. "Maya never mentioned any of your family," she said more gently. "She wore that ring as long as I can remember, but she never told me where she got it. I always assumed she bought it somewhere. Do you have any of her things? Papers, letters, anything that might explain it?" "Just photographs and clothes." Naomi hesitated. "But there is one picture where she's wearing the ring, from 7 years ago, before your father died." Ethan's eyes widened. 7 years? At least. Maybe longer. She pulled out her phone, found the picture, and showed him. "That's Maya, at a friend's birthday party." He stared at the photo for a long moment. His finger traced the screen, hovering over Maya's smiling face. She looked happy. She was. That was before she got sick. Naomi's throat tightened. "Before everything fell apart. I'm sorry for your loss." The words were simple but genuine. Losing someone you love, there's nothing that prepares you for it. "No," Naomi agreed quietly. "There's not." They stood together in the grand hall, two people bound by grief and a golden ring neither of them fully understood. Outside, Lila laughed at something, and the sound broke the heavy moment. "She's special," Ethan said, watching the little girl through the window. "Your niece." "She's everything." Naomi's voice was fierce. "She's the reason I get up every morning. The reason I keep fighting. You're lucky to have each other." "I know." Ethan turned to look at her fully. "I meant what I said on the phone, about getting off to a bad start. I'd like to fix that if you'll let me." "Why?" The question burst out before Naomi could stop it. "Why do you care? You could buy flowers from anyone. You could forget about the ring and move on. Why this? Why me?" He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because when I look at you and Lila, I see what I lost. Family, connection, purpose." He met her eyes. "I've spent 8 months hiding in this house, drowning in guilt and regret, and then I saw that ring, and for the first time since my father died, I felt something other than numbness." Naomi's heart hammered against her ribs. This was dangerous. This honesty, this vulnerability. It made him real in a way that terrified her. "I should go," she said, though her feet didn't move. "I understand." But disappointment flickered across his face. "Thank you for the flowers. They really are beautiful." "Mr. Caldwell." "Ethan. Please call me Ethan." "Ethan." His name felt strange on her tongue. Intimate. "I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I need you to understand something. I can't afford complications. I have Lila to think about, and bills to pay, and a life that's barely holding together most days. So if this is some kind of guilt-driven charity project, I need you to tell me now." "It's not." His grey-blue eyes held hers. "I promise you, it's not." "Then what is it? Honestly?" "I don't know yet." A small, sad smile touched his lips. "But I'd like to find out, if you're willing." Before Naomi could respond, Lila burst back through the door, her hands cupped carefully. "Aunt Nay, look, a frog." Sure enough, a tiny green frog sat in her palms, blinking up at them. "Lila Brooks, you know better than to pick up—" "He's so cute." Lila held the frog up to Ethan. "Do you like frogs?" Ethan crouched down to her level, examining the frog with exaggerated seriousness. "I think frogs are excellent, but this fellow probably wants to get back to his pond. How about we bring him home together?" "Okay." Lila beamed at him. Naomi watched them walk back toward the garden, the tall man shortening his stride to match the little girl's steps. Something in her chest cracked open, something she'd kept locked tight since Maya died. Hope. Dangerous, foolish hope. She followed them outside, the afternoon sun warm on her face. At the pond's edge, Lila gently released the frog, and all three of them watched it disappear into the water with a small splash. "Thank you for not being mad about the frog," Lila said to Ethan. "Why would I be mad? He was just visiting. Some grown-ups don't like frogs." "Well, I'm not like some grown-ups." He glanced at Naomi. "I try not to be, anyway." They walked back to Naomi's truck together. The tension from earlier had softened into something easier. Not quite friendship, but not strangers anymore either. "Same time next week?" Ethan asked, as Naomi buckled Lila into her seat. "If you want, I want." The certainty in his voice sent butterflies dancing through her stomach. "Then I'll be here." She drove away, watching him shrink in her rearview mirror. He stood in front of his mansion, hands in his pockets, looking somehow lonelier than before. "I like him," Lila announced. "He's nice. He seems nice," Naomi agreed carefully. "Do you like him?" "I don't know him well enough to like him." Lila considered this with the gravity only children could manage. "But you smiled at him. You don't smile at most people." Naomi's hands tightened on the wheel. "That's not true." "It is too. You smile at customers, but it's your work smile. That was your real smile." 6 years old, and already too perceptive for comfort. "Let's talk about something else," Naomi suggested. "What do you want for dinner?" But as they drove home, she couldn't stop thinking about Ethan Caldwell standing alone in that beautiful empty house. The next week passed in a blur of work and worry. Naomi's stand did better than usual. Word was spreading about her arrangements. But every night she lay awake thinking about crystal vases and sad grey eyes, and the way Ethan had looked at her like she was a puzzle he desperately wanted to solve. Tuesday arrived too quickly and too slowly all at once. This time she'd prepared a different arrangement. Spring colours, yellow tulips, pink roses, white baby's breath, hopeful flowers, happy flowers. "These are even better than last week," Ethan said when she arrived. He'd been waiting outside like he'd been watching for her truck. "I thought you might want something brighter." "You thought right." He helped her carry the vases inside. "Actually, I was hoping you and Lila might stay for a bit. I had my cook prepare lunch, nothing fancy, just sandwiches and fruit." Warning bells rang in Naomi's head. "That's not necessary." "I know, but I'd like the company, if you're willing." He paused. "Please, I promise I'm not a serial killer or anything." Despite herself, Naomi laughed. "That's exactly what a serial killer would say." "Fair point. How about this? My housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, is here, and my gardener is working out back. So you'd have witnesses if I tried anything nefarious." "Aunt Nay, I'm hungry," Lila said helpfully. Trapped by a 6-year-old and her own curiosity, Naomi found herself agreeing. Lunch was served on a patio overlooking the gardens. Ethan had been honest. It was just sandwiches, but they were good sandwiches, cut into triangles the way Lila liked, with fresh fruit and lemonade that tasted homemade. "Tell me about your flowers," Ethan said as they ate. "How did you get started?" "My grandmother had a garden. Not fancy like yours, just a small plot behind her house. But she grew everything, vegetables, herbs, flowers. She used to say that growing things kept you connected to life." Naomi smiled at the memory. "When she died, she left me her gardening tools and all her seed packets. I started small, just a few plants in our backyard. Then people started asking to buy them." "So you turned it into a business?" "I turned it into survival." She kept her voice light, but honesty crept in anyway. "After Maya died, I needed something that was mine, something I could build. The flowers gave me that." "Your grandmother would be proud." The simple statement hit harder than Naomi expected. "I hope so." Lila had finished eating and was watching the koi pond again, her face dreamy and content. "She's lucky to have you," Ethan said quietly. "Not every kid who loses their parent finds someone who loves them like you clearly love her. She's not just my responsibility. She's my second chance." Naomi's voice caught. "Maya and we weren't always close. I was so busy trying to make something of myself, prove I could succeed without anyone's help. I missed a lot of time with her, time I can't get back. But Lila lets me do better, be better. Is that why you're so protective?" "That's part of it." Naomi looked at him directly. "But I'm also protective because the world isn't always kind to little black girls, especially ones being raised by someone barely making ends meet. I have to be her shield until she's old enough to carry her own." Ethan flinched. "You shouldn't have to do it alone." "But I do, that's reality." She softened her tone. "I'm not complaining. Lila is the best thing in my life. I can't let my guard down. Not for anyone. Too much depends on me staying focused." "I understand." He stared at his hands. I let my guard down once, got too focused on building my business, making money, proving myself, and while I was busy being important, my father died without me there. So I get it. The guilt, the weight of knowing you failed someone you loved. The pain in his voice was so raw that Naomi reached across the table without thinking. Her hand covered his. You didn't fail him, she said softly. You made choices. Sometimes they're the wrong ones, but that doesn't make you a failure. His eyes met hers, and something electric passed between them, something that made Naomi's pulse race and her defenses scream warnings. She pulled her hand back. We should go. I have other deliveries this afternoon. Of course. Disappointment crossed his face, but he stood immediately. Let me walk you out. At her truck, Lila climbed into the passenger seat, yawning. The lunch and sun had made her sleepy. Thank you for staying, Ethan said. It was nice, having people here, having noise that isn't just my own thoughts echoing back at me. You're lonely. The observation slipped out before Naomi could stop it. Desperately. His honesty was startling. This house was my father's dream. He built it for family, for gatherings, for life. And now it's just me and the staff and 1,000 empty rooms full of memories I can't escape. Then why stay? Because leaving feels like abandoning him all over again. Ethan's jaw tightened. I know that doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. Naomi understood completely. She'd kept every piece of Maya's clothing, couldn't bring herself to move from their apartment even though it was too small. Grief had its own logic. But Ethan, staying in a prison of your own guilt isn't honoring his memory. It's just punishing yourself. He looked at her like she'd spoken a truth he'd been avoiding for months. Before she could second-guess herself, Naomi pulled out her phone. What's your number? My number. For the flower orders. So we can coordinate better. It was a lie. They both knew it was a lie. But Ethan gave her his number anyway, and Naomi saved it in her contacts with fingers that trembled slightly. Same time next week? He asked. Yeah, same time. She drove away, and in her rearview mirror she saw him standing exactly where he'd stood before, alone in front of his mansion. But this time he was smiling, a small smile, uncertain and fragile, but real. You're playing with fire, Tara said 3 days later, watching Naomi arrange flowers at her stand. I'm delivering flowers, that's literally my job. Girl, please. You've been humming all week. You check your phone every 5 minutes. And you spent an hour picking out what to wear this morning for a flower delivery. I did not. You're wearing mascara. You never wear mascara to work. Naomi touched her lashes self-consciously. Maybe I just felt like looking nice. For Ethan Caldwell. Tara crossed her arms. Admit it. You like him. I don't know him well enough to like him. That's what you said about the ring, and look where that got you. Now you're having lunch at his mansion and texting him. Yes, I saw you grinning at your phone yesterday and developing feelings for a rich white guy with family drama. He's not just some rich white guy. The defense came out sharper than Naomi intended. He's grieving his father. He's lonely. He's trying to be better than his past. And you're trying to save him. Tara's voice gentled. Nay, I love you, but you can't fix broken men. You learned that with Marcus, remember? Naomi's ex-boyfriend, the one who'd promised to help with Maya's medical bills and disappeared when things got hard. That failure still stung. This is different, Naomi insisted. How? Because, she struggled for words, because when I'm with Ethan I don't feel like I'm fixing him. I feel like maybe we're fixing each other. Tara studied her for a long moment. You're falling for him. I'm not. You are. And honey, I'm worried. Men like him, with their money and their power, they live in a different world. What happens when he gets bored? Or when his fancy friends convince him you're not good enough? Or when you realize he can't actually understand what your life is really like? Every word landed like a stone in Naomi's chest, because Tara was right. She was absolutely right. Nothing's going to happen, Naomi said firmly. We're just friends, sort of. Business associates who are friendly. Keep telling yourself that, Tara sighed. Just promise me you'll be careful. You and Lila have been through enough. I don't want to see either of you hurt. I promise. But as Naomi went back to her flowers, Tara's warnings echoed in her mind. She was falling for Ethan Caldwell, falling fast and hard despite every reason not to. And the scariest part, she didn't want to stop. Tuesday came again, and this time Ethan was waiting at the door when Naomi arrived. I have a surprise, he said, and there was excitement in his voice she hadn't heard before. For Lila. A surprise? Naomi's guard went up immediately. Nothing expensive, just come see. He led them to the garden, and Lila gasped. Someone had set up a small table under a tree, child-sized, with teacups and plates. Stuffed animals sat in the chairs. A tea party, Lila bounced on her toes. Is that for me? If you want it to be, Ethan said. I thought maybe while your aunt sets up the flowers you could host. Mrs. Chen made cookies. Lila looked at Naomi with pleading eyes. Can I? Please? How could she say no to that hope? 30 minutes. Then we have to go. Lila was off like a shot, already organizing her stuffed animal guests. You didn't have to do that, Naomi said, as she and Ethan walked back to the house. I wanted to. She's a good kid. She deserves something special. She gets something special. She gets love and stability and a home, that's enough. I didn't mean— Ethan stopped, frustrated. I'm not trying to suggest you're not enough. I just thought she might enjoy it. Naomi's anger deflated. I'm sorry, I'm defensive. Too defensive sometimes. You have every right to be. He held the door open for her. The world hasn't given you much reason to trust easily. They worked in comfortable silence, Naomi arranging flowers while Ethan watched. She was getting used to his presence. The way he leaned against the doorframe, the quiet intensity of his focus. Can I tell you something? He asked after a while. Okay. These past few weeks, having you and Lila here, it's the first time this house has felt like a home since my father died. So thank you for saying yes to this arrangement, for letting me be part of your lives, even in this small way. Naomi's hands stilled on the stems. Ethan, I know it's just business. I know you're being kind to a lonely man who happened to stumble into your flower stand, but it matters to me. You matter to me. Her heart hammered. This was the moment she should set boundaries, protect herself, walk away before she got in too deep. Instead, she heard herself say, You matter to me too. His smile transformed his face, made him look younger, lighter, happy. Would you maybe want to have dinner with me sometime? He asked. A real dinner, not just sandwiches on the patio. You and Lila, I mean, or just you if you'd prefer. I'd understand if— Dinner sounds nice, Naomi interrupted. Just the two of us. Lila can stay with Tara. Really? Really? She was terrified and exhilarated all at once. But Ethan, I need you to understand something. I come with complications, baggage, responsibilities. If you're looking for something easy and casual, I'm not your girl. Good. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Because I'm not interested in easy or casual. I'm interested in you. The air between them crackled with possibility, with the promise of something that could either heal them both or break them completely. Outside, Lila's laughter rang out, a reminder of what was at stake, what Naomi stood to lose if she gambled wrong, but she was tired of being afraid, tired of playing it safe. Saturday, she said. Pick me up at 7. Saturday at 7, Ethan repeated, his smile growing. It's a date. A date. The word sent nervous energy skittering through her veins. She was really doing this, really opening her heart to the possibility of more than just survival. It was the most terrifying thing she'd done since taking custody of Lila, and maybe, just maybe, it would be the best decision too. Saturday arrived wrapped in sunshine and Naomi's nerves. She'd changed outfits 4 times before Tara physically removed the other dresses from her hands. The blue one, Tara insisted. It makes your eyes pop and shows off your shoulders. Perfect for a first date with Mr. Mansion. Don't call him that. But Naomi slipped into the blue dress anyway. Simple, cotton, nothing fancy. She couldn't compete with the kind of women Ethan probably usually dated, and she wouldn't try. You look beautiful, Aunt Nay, Lila said from the doorway. She was already in her pajamas, ready for her sleepover at Tara's apartment. Thank you, baby. Naomi knelt down, straightening Lila's collar. You be good for Tara, okay? Bedtime at 8:30. I know. Lila rolled her eyes with 6-year-old exasperation. Have fun on your date. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. Naomi took a deep breath, smoothed her dress one last time, and opened the door. Ethan stood on her small porch holding flowers. Not an elaborate bouquet, just a handful of wildflowers, the kind that grew along the roadside, simple and thoughtful, and somehow perfect. Hi, he said, and was that nervousness in his voice? Hi. She took the flowers, their fingers brushing. These are beautiful. I figured you probably knew more about flowers than I ever would, but I saw these and thought of you. He wore dark jeans and a button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, less put together than usual, more real. They're perfect. She set them in a mason jar of water. Let me grab my purse. Tara appeared with Lila, giving Ethan a look that clearly said, "I'm watching you. Have her home by midnight or you'll answer to me." "Yes, ma'am." Ethan's serious expression made Lila giggle. In his car, a different one, older and less flashy, Naomi felt her shoulders start to relax. "Thank you for not bringing the luxury car. That thing makes me feel like I'm trying too hard." He pulled out of her neighborhood. "Tonight, I just want to be Ethan. Not Ethan Caldwell of Caldwell Enterprises. Just me. I think I'd like to meet just Ethan." His smile was answer enough. They drove to a small coffee shop on the pier, the kind of place Naomi had walked past 100 times, but never had the luxury to enter. Inside, it smelled like cinnamon and hope. String lights hung from the ceiling. Mismatched chairs clustered around wooden tables, worn smooth by years of elbows and conversation. "I hope this is okay," Ethan said. "I know it's not fancy. It's perfect." And she meant it. This felt real, comfortable. They ordered coffee and pie, apple for her, cherry for him, and found a table by the window where they could watch the ocean turn silver in the fading light. "Tell me something about you that nobody knows," Naomi said, wrapping her hands around her warm mug. Ethan considered the question seriously. "I'm afraid of the dark." She blinked. "Really?" "Really. Have been since I was a kid. My father used to make fun of me for it. Said Caldwell men weren't afraid of anything, so I learned to hide it. But even now, in that big house, I sleep with a lamp on." The vulnerability in his confession touched something deep in Naomi's chest. "That's not weakness, that's just being human." "Your turn, tell me something real." Naomi hesitated. Then, "I'm terrified I'm not enough for Lila. That someday she'll look back and resent me for not giving her the life Maya would have given her. For not being her actual mother." "Naomi," Ethan's hand covered hers on the table, "that little girl looks at you like you hung the moon. Whatever you're giving her, it's enough. More than enough." "How do you know?" "Because I see the way she lights up when you're near, the way she runs to you first with every discovery, the way she trusts you completely." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "That's not biology. That's love, and love is always enough." Tears pricked at Naomi's eyes. She blinked them back. "You're pretty wise for a lonely rich guy." "I have my moments." His smile was gentle. "Though I'm feeling significantly less lonely these days." They talked for hours. About everything and nothing. Ethan told her about building his business from nothing, about the pressure to live up to his father's name. Naomi shared stories about Maya, about their childhood, about dreams she'd put on hold when survival became more important than ambition. "What would you do?" Ethan asked. "If money wasn't an issue, if you could do anything?" "I'd open a real flower shop, not just a roadside stand, but an actual store with a greenhouse attached. I'd hire people who needed second chances, folks coming out of difficult situations who just needed someone to believe in them." She paused, surprised at herself. "I've never told anyone that before." "Why not?" "Because dreams are dangerous when you can't afford for them to fail." "What if you had someone to catch you if they did?" His eyes held hers. "What if you didn't have to do everything alone?" The air between them thickened with unspoken possibilities. Naomi's heart hammered against her ribs. "Ethan, Thunder rumbled overhead. Through the window, rain began to fall in sudden sheets. "We should go," Ethan said reluctantly, "before it gets worse." They ran to the car, but the rain was faster. By the time they reached it, they were both soaked. Naomi's dress clung to her skin. Her carefully styled hair dripped into her eyes, and she was laughing. Real, unguarded laughter that bubbled up from somewhere deep and free. Ethan stared at her from the driver's seat, water streaming down his face. "You're laughing? We look ridiculous." "We really do." And then he was laughing too, the sound rusty like he'd forgotten how. Without thinking, Naomi leaned across the console and kissed him. It was soft, sweet, a question more than a statement. Ethan's hand came up to cup her cheek, gentle as anything. He kissed her back with a tenderness that made her chest ache. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you at your flower stand," he whispered. "Even when you thought I was a thief, especially then. You were so fierce defending Lila, so strong." His forehead rested against hers. "I've never met anyone like you, Naomi Brooks. Good or bad, the best." He pulled back, shrugging out of his jacket to drape it around her shoulders. It smelled like him, cedar and something clean. "Let's get you home before you catch cold." The drive back was quiet but comfortable. Ethan's hand found hers on the console and stayed there. When they reached her house, he walked her to the door even though the rain still fell. "Thank you," Naomi said, "for tonight, for everything. Thank you for saying yes." He brushed a wet curl from her face. Can I see you again, soon? I'd like that. Good. He kissed her forehead, soft and sweet. Good night, Naomi. She watched him drive away, her hand pressed to her lips, his jacket still warm around her shoulders. Tara was going to have a field day with this, but for once Naomi didn't care. For once she let herself feel hope without fear chasing right behind it. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and growing connection. Ethan came to her flower stand on his lunch breaks. They'd sit on the tailgate of her truck, eating sandwiches and talking about nothing important. Everything important. He helped her replant her garden after a storm damaged several beds. His expensive clothes got dirty. He didn't complain once. She came to his house twice a week now, always with Lila. They'd have dinner together. Ethan learning to cook simple meals under Mrs. Chen's patient instruction. Lila would play in the garden, while Naomi and Ethan talked on the patio, their chairs inching closer each visit. They held hands, stole kisses when Lila wasn't looking, texted late into the night like teenagers. Naomi was falling, had already fallen, was trying not to panic about the landing. You're glowing, Tara observed one morning. It's disgusting how happy you are. Is that allowed? Am I allowed to be happy? Of course you are. Tara's voice softened. I'm just scared for you, that's all. This is moving fast. I know. Naomi arranged daisies with careful precision. But Tara, when I'm with him, I feel like I can breathe for the first time in years, like maybe life can be more than just surviving. And when his world crashes into yours, when the rich friends and the society expectations and all that other baggage shows up, we'll deal with it. Tara didn't look convinced, but she hugged Naomi anyway. Just promise me you'll be careful. I promise. But that promise became harder to keep when Ethan showed up at her stand on Thursday with an invitation. There's a charity gala next weekend, he said, looking nervous. It's a big deal. Black tie, the whole thing. I was hoping you might come with me. Naomi's stomach dropped. A gala. I know it's not your scene. It's barely my scene. But I have to go. It's for the Children's Hospital, and my company is a major sponsor, and I'd really like to have you there. With me. Ethan, I don't belong at something like that. You belong anywhere I am. His voice was firm. Please, Naomi. I want the world to meet you. I want to walk into that room with you on my arm and show everyone how lucky I am. The sincerity in his eyes undid her. I don't have anything to wear to a gala, so we'll find something. Together. I'll take you shopping. No, she cut him off. I appreciate the offer, but I'll figure it out myself. Naomi, I mean it. If I'm going to do this, I'm doing it on my terms. She softened. But yes, I'll go with you. His smile could have powered the whole coast. Yeah? Yeah. She was probably going to regret this, but the hope in his eyes made it impossible to say no. That afternoon, she called Tara in a panic. I need a dress, a fancy dress, for a gala, and I have exactly $200 budgeted for it. Girl, we're going thrift shopping. Tara's voice crackled with determination. I know a place. We'll find you something perfect. They did. A deep emerald dress with elegant lines and subtle beading. $75 at a consignment shop, altered for $30 more by Tara's neighbor, who did seamstress work on the side. The night of the gala, Naomi stood in front of her bathroom mirror and barely recognized herself. The dress fit like it had been made for her. Tara had done her hair in an updo that looked elegant but not like she was trying too hard. Simple jewelry, her grandmother's pearls. You look like a queen, Lila breathed from the doorway. I feel like I'm playing dress-up. You look beautiful, Tara corrected. And if anyone makes you feel like you don't belong there, you call me and I'll come throw hands. Naomi laughed despite her nerves. I'll keep that in mind. Ethan arrived at 7:30 in a tuxedo that made Naomi's mouth go dry. But it was the way he looked at her, like she'd stolen his breath, that made her feel truly beautiful. Wow, he said. Just that. Nothing else. Too much? Perfect. He took her hand, kissed her knuckles. Absolutely perfect. The gala was held at the largest hotel in Charleston. Crystal chandeliers, a string quartet, women in gowns that probably cost more than Naomi's rent, men in tuxedos discussing business and boats. Naomi's confidence wavered at the entrance. Hey, Ethan squeezed her hand. You've got this, and I've got you. They walked in together and Naomi felt the eyes immediately. The stares, the whispers. That's Ethan Caldwell. Who's the woman? I've never seen her before. Where did he find her? Ethan either didn't notice or didn't care. He kept her close, introducing her to people with pride in his voice. This is Naomi Brooks. She's an incredible florist, and an even more incredible person. Some people were kind. Others looked her up and down with thinly veiled judgment. Naomi held her head high, refusing to shrink. "Would you like to dance?" Ethan asked when the string quartet began playing something slow and dreamy. "I'm not very good." "Neither am I." He led her onto the floor anyway. "We'll figure it out together." And they did. Ethan's hand was warm on her waist. Hers rested on his shoulder. They moved together like they'd been doing this for years, not weeks. "Thank you for being here," he murmured against her ear. "Thank you for inviting me. I meant what I said earlier. You're perfect. And anyone who doesn't see that is blind." Naomi let herself melt into him, into this moment. Let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could work. That love could bridge the gap between their different worlds. The song ended. Ethan kissed her hand. "I need to go schmooze with some donors. Will you be okay for a few minutes?" "I'll be fine. Go do your charity thing." He disappeared into the crowd, and Naomi made her way to the refreshment table. She was reaching for a glass of champagne when she heard the voice. "So you're the flower girl." Naomi turned. A woman stood beside her, mid-50s, elegant in a way that spoke of old money and older judgments. Her eyes were cold. "I'm Naomi," she said evenly. "Margaret Caldwell, Ethan's stepmother." The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I've heard so much about you." Warning bells rang in Naomi's head. "Nice to meet you." "Is it?" Margaret sipped her champagne. "I wonder, you see, I know your family, Naomi Brooks, or rather, I know of your family. I don't know what you mean. Your sister, Maya Brooks, she worked for us years ago, cleaning our home." Margaret's voice dripped with false sweetness. "Until she stole from us, and we had to let her go." The floor dropped out from under Naomi's feet. "That's not true. My sister never stole anything." "Are you sure? Because I remember quite clearly several items going missing around the time she left, including a very valuable family ring. Maya bought that ring. It was hers." "So she claimed." Margaret moved closer, voice dropping. "Tell me, dear, what exactly is your game here? Worming your way into my stepson's life? Using that ring and a sad story to manipulate a grieving man?" "I'm not manipulating anyone." Naomi's voice shook with fury. "I didn't even know about Ethan until he showed up at my stand. How convenient. And now here you are at a gala you clearly don't belong at, wearing a dress I'm sure Ethan paid for." "He didn't pay for my dress. I bought it myself." "Of course you did." Margaret's smile was cruel. "Look around, Naomi. Look at these people. This is Ethan's world. Do you honestly think you fit here? That his friends and business associates will ever accept you?" Tears burned at the back of Naomi's throat. She refused to let them fall. "You're just a distraction," Margaret continued. "Something to make him feel better about abandoning his father. But distractions don't last. And when he realizes what you really are, a gold digger with a convenient sob story, he'll drop you faster than your sister dropped that stolen ring." "My sister didn't steal anything." Naomi's voice was steel. "And I'm not a gold digger. I love him." The words hung in the air, true and terrifying. Margaret laughed. "Love. How adorable. Let me give you some advice, dear. Whatever fantasy you've built in your head, it ends badly. Men like Ethan don't end up with women like you. They play at being common for a while, but they always return to their own kind." Naomi couldn't breathe. The room was too hot, too crowded, too full of people who saw her exactly the way Margaret did, as someone who didn't belong. She set down her untouched champagne and walked toward the exit. "Naomi!" Ethan's voice caught her halfway across the room. "Where are you going?" She couldn't look at him, couldn't let him see her falling apart. "I need air." "Wait!" He caught her arm. "What's wrong?" "Your stepmother." The words came out broken. She told everyone my sister was a thief, that I'm using you." Ethan's face went pale. "She what?" "It doesn't matter." Naomi pulled free. "I need to leave. I need to go home." "I'll come with you." "No." She finally looked at him, and the tears she'd been holding back spilled over. "I can't do this, Ethan. I can't be in your world. I don't fit here. Everyone knows it. Even you know it." "That's not true. Look around." Her voice cracked. "Look at the way people are staring at us right now. I'm a spectacle. The flower girl who thought she could play Cinderella. Naomi, please." "I have to go." She ran. Out of the ballroom, through the lobby, into the humid night air. Behind her, she heard Ethan calling her name, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. She called a taxi because she'd come in his car, another reminder that she didn't belong. The driver mercifully didn't ask questions as she cried in the back seat. At home, she collapsed on her couch and let the sobs come. Tara found her there an hour later. She'd called, panicked, and Tara had dropped everything to come. What happened? Tara held her while she shook. You were right. Naomi's voice was raw. I don't belong in his world, and I was stupid to think I could. Her phone rang. Ethan's name lit up the screen. She declined the call. It rang again. And again. Finally a text. Please let me explain. Please let me make this right. I'm so sorry. But sorry wasn't enough to bridge the gap between their worlds. Sorry didn't erase Margaret's words or the truth they'd carried. Naomi turned off her phone and cried herself to sleep in Tara's arms. Her heart breaking into pieces, she didn't know how to put back together. Monday morning arrived with grey skies, and Naomi's determination to forget Ethan Caldwell existed. She opened her flower stand, arranged bouquets, smiled at customers with a smile that never reached her eyes. Lila asked about Ethan twice. Naomi changed the subject both times. By Tuesday, she'd almost convinced herself she was fine. That's when the expensive black car pulled up. Not Ethan's, a different one. A woman in a business suit stepped out, followed by a man with a briefcase. Naomi Brooks, the woman asked. That's me. I'm Karen Mitchell, a private investigator working for the Caldwell family. She handed Naomi a folder. We've been looking into the origins of a certain ring in your possession. Naomi's hands went numb. What? Our investigation has revealed that your sister, Maya Brooks, pawned several items stolen from the Caldwell estate 7 years ago. This ring was among them. The woman's voice was cold, professional. The Caldwell family would like it returned. My sister didn't steal anything, but Naomi's voice shook. We have documentation, pawn shop records, witness statements. The investigator's expression was sympathetic but firm. I'm sorry, Ms. Brooks, but the ring needs to be returned to its rightful owners. Get off my property. Naomi's voice was low, dangerous. Now, the woman nodded. You have 1 week to comply voluntarily. After that, the Caldwell family will pursue legal action. They drove away, and Naomi sank to the ground behind her stand, the folder clutched in trembling hands. This was Ethan. Had to be Ethan. He'd sicked investigators on her, was coming after the ring, even though he'd promised. Her phone rang. Ethan's name. She answered with ice in her voice. How dare you? Naomi, what are you talking about? The investigator you sent. The threats about legal action. After everything, you're going to take Lila's ring? The last thing she has of her mother? What investigator? Naomi, I didn't send anyone. Liar! The word exploded out of her. You're just like her, just like Margaret. You think you can buy anything, control anyone. Well, I won't let you. That ring belongs to Lila, and you'll have to drag me to court to get it. Naomi, please listen. She hung up, blocked his number. Then she sat among her flowers and tried to figure out how her fairy tale had turned into a nightmare. That evening, a letter arrived from Child Services. An anonymous complaint had been filed questioning her guardianship of Lila. They needed to schedule a home visit to assess the situation. Naomi read the letter 3 times, each time feeling more like she was drowning. They were coming after Lila, coming after the only family she had left, and she knew in her bones, that the Caldwells were behind it. Ethan or Margaret, it didn't matter. They had money and power, and she had nothing but love for a little girl, and determination to never, ever let anyone take her away. What's wrong, Aunt Nay? Lila appeared in the doorway, her small face worried. Nothing, baby. Naomi folded the letter, pasted on a smile. Everything's fine, but nothing was fine. And as Naomi tucked Lila into bed that night, kissing her forehead and whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep, she felt the full weight of what it meant to love someone from a different world. It meant watching that world crush you, and all she could do was stand strong and refuse to break. Ethan sat in his office, staring at his phone. Naomi had blocked him. Every call went straight to voicemail. Every text turned green and unanswered. She thought he'd sent an investigator, thought he was trying to take the ring from Lila. The idea made him physically sick. Mr. Caldwell. Mrs. Chen knocked softly on the door. You have a visitor. Margaret Caldwell is here. Ethan's jaw tightened. Send her in. His stepmother swept into the room like she owned it. She'd done that his whole life, acted like the Caldwell name was hers by right instead of marriage. Ethan, darling, we need to talk about this unfortunate situation with that woman. Her name is Naomi. His voice was cold. And what situation? The one where she's clearly manipulating you, using a stolen ring and a child to prey on your grief. Margaret sat down without being invited. I've hired a private investigator to look into her background. The findings are quite damning. Ice flooded Ethan's veins. You did what? Someone had to protect you. That woman's sister was a thief. Stop. Ethan stood, his hands gripping the desk. Stop talking right now. Margaret blinked, surprised. Excuse me? You hired an investigator without my knowledge. You had them threaten Naomi. His voice shook with rage. What else have you done? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. The words exploded out. What else have you done? Margaret's composure cracked slightly. I may have made a call to child services, an anonymous concern about the child's welfare. Ethan, that woman is barely making ends meet. That little girl deserves better. Get out. Ethan's voice was deadly quiet now. Get out of my office. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Ethan, you've done enough damage. To me, to my father's memory, to innocent people who never did anything except exist in the same space as your cruelty. He pulled out his phone. Mr. Blake, I need you at my office immediately. And bring everything you have on the ring, all the records from my father's estate liquidation. What are you doing? Margaret stood, alarm flickering across her face. What I should have done months ago, finding the truth. Mr. Blake arrived within the hour. He spread documents across Ethan's desk while Margaret watched, trapped by her own arrogance. The ring was sold 3 years ago, Mr. Blake confirmed, during the estate liquidation you oversaw, Margaret. It was pawned along with several other items. That proves my point. Those items were stolen. By you. Mr. Blake looked at her over his glasses. I've done my research, Margaret. Your personal debts at that time were considerable. Gambling debts, specifically. You sold your stepson's inheritance to cover your mistakes, then blamed the staff when questions arose. Margaret's face went white. That's not... I didn't. You did. Ethan's voice was flat. You sold my father's ring. Then you let people believe it was stolen. You let Maya Brooks carry that suspicion, even though you knew the truth. She was nobody. It didn't matter. It mattered. Ethan slammed his hand on the desk. She died, believing she'd been accused of theft. Her sister is raising her daughter alone, fighting to survive, and you tried to take that child away over a lie you created. I was protecting you. You were protecting yourself. He moved to the door, opened it. So you have 1 hour to leave my property. After that, I'm calling the police for trespassing. Ethan, please, I'm family. You stopped being family the moment you lied about that ring, the moment you went after Naomi and Lila. His eyes were ice. I'll be making a public statement about what really happened. I suggest you stay far away from me when I do. Margaret left, her elegant composure finally shattered. Ethan collapsed into his chair, hands shaking. What do I do now? He asked Mr. Blake. She won't even talk to me. The old lawyer smiled sadly. You tell the truth, publicly, loudly. You clear her sister's name, and you prove that your love is stronger than your family's lies. And if she still doesn't forgive me, then at least you'll have done the right thing. Sometimes that's all we can do. Naomi sat across from the social worker, Lila playing quietly in the next room. The woman had kind eyes, but Naomi knew kindness didn't always mean mercy. Ms. Brooks, I want to assure you this is just a standard visit. We received an anonymous complaint, but that doesn't mean we've found any issues. What was the complaint? Naomi's hands twisted in her lap. Someone expressed concern about your financial stability, about whether you could adequately provide for Lila. The social worker, Mrs. Patterson, looked at her notes. Can you tell me about your current employment and housing situation? Naomi walked her through everything. The flower stand, her rental house, her income and expenses. It all sounded so inadequate when laid out like that, so barely enough. And Lila's emotional state. How has she adjusted to her mother's death? She has hard days. We both do. Naomi's throat tightened. But she's loved. She's safe. She's everything to me. Mrs. Patterson made notes. I'd like to speak with Lila alone, if that's all right. It wasn't all right. Nothing about this was all right. But Naomi nodded. She waited in the kitchen, listening to the murmur of voices from the living room. Lila's bright laughter. Mrs. Patterson's gentle questions. After 20 minutes, Mrs. Patterson returned alone. Ms. Brooks, I want you to know that from what I've observed, Lila is happy, healthy, and clearly well loved. Your home is clean and appropriate. You're obviously dedicated to her welfare. Relief flooded through Naomi. So the complaint will be noted as unfounded in my report. I see no reason for any further action. Mrs. Patterson's voice softened. However, I do want to encourage you to build a support network if you haven't already. Raising a child alone is difficult. You don't have to do it without help. I have help. My best friend Tara, she's been amazing. Good. That's good. Mrs. Patterson stood. I'll file my report this week. You should receive official notification that the case is closed within 10 days. After she left, Naomi sat on her couch and cried. Not from sadness, from sheer exhaustion, from the weight of constantly fighting, constantly proving she was enough. Aunt Nay? Lila climbed into her lap. Why are you crying? Happy tears, baby. Just happy tears. The lady was nice. She asked if I love you. What did you tell her? I said I love you more than sunflowers, more than ice cream, more than anything in the whole world. Lila's small arms wrapped around Naomi's neck. Did I say the right thing? You said the perfect thing. Naomi held her tight, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. I love you too, baby girl, more than anything in this whole world. That night, after Lila was asleep, Naomi sat on her porch and let herself think about Ethan for the first time in days. She missed him, missed his quiet presence and his sad smile and the way he looked at her like she'd hung the stars. Missed the hope he'd kindled in her heart that life could be more than just survival. But missing someone didn't mean trusting them, and she couldn't risk Lila, couldn't risk their fragile life for a man who might crush them both. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Naomi? It's Mr. Blake, Ethan's lawyer. Her stomach dropped. I'm not talking about the ring. I'm not calling about the ring. I'm calling because there's a charity event tomorrow night at the community center. Ethan is going to be speaking. He paused. I think you should be there. Why would I want to see him? Because he's going to tell the truth. About the ring, about his stepmother, about everything. And I think you deserve to hear it firsthand. Naomi's heart hammered. Mr. Blake, just come. Please, 7 o'clock. If you hear what he has to say and still want nothing to do with him, fine. But give him this one chance to make things right. The line went dead before she could respond. Naomi sat in the darkness, torn between hope and fear, between the safety of her anger and the risk of believing again. The community center was packed. Naomi stood in the back, Tara beside her for moral support. She'd almost chickened out a dozen times, but here she was. If he hurts you again, I'm throwing something at his head, Tara muttered. Deal. The crowd included people from town, local business owners and, Naomi noticed with surprise, several of the society types from the gala. Margaret Caldwell sat in the third row, her face tight. Then Ethan walked onto the small stage, and Naomi's breath caught. He looked terrible, exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. But when his eyes found hers across the crowd, something lit up in his face. Hope, relief, love. Thank you all for coming, he began, his voice carrying through the small space. I'm supposed to talk about my company's charitable initiatives tonight, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I need to tell you all the truth about something I've kept hidden for too long, the crowd murmured. Margaret half stood, then sat back down when people looked at her. 8 months ago, my father died. I wasn't there. I was too busy building an empire to be there when he needed me most. Ethan's voice cracked. After he died, several items from his estate went missing, including a family ring that had been in the Caldwell family for generations. Naomi's hands gripped Tara's arm. For months, I believed that ring had been stolen, and when I saw it recently, on a little girl's hand, I jumped to conclusions. I accused innocent people of theft. I let my grief and guilt turn me into someone my father would have been ashamed of. He pulled papers from his pocket. But the truth is this. The ring wasn't stolen. It was sold, legally, 3 years ago, by my stepmother, Margaret Caldwell, to cover personal debts she'd accumulated. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Margaret stood, face red. That's a lie. It's documented. Ethan's voice was firm. I have pawn shop records, bank statements, everything. He looked directly at Margaret. You sold my father's inheritance. Then you blamed the staff when questions arose. You let an innocent woman, Maya Brooks, die believing she'd been accused of theft. How dare you? No. How dare you? Ethan's anger was controlled but fierce. Maya Brooks bought that ring legally from a pawn shop. She wore it with pride. She passed it to her daughter before she died, and when her sister Naomi tried to protect that legacy, you hired investigators to threaten her. You called child services to try to take her niece away, all to cover up your own lies. The crowd erupted, people shouting questions, Margaret pushing toward the exit. But Ethan wasn't done. His eyes found Naomi again. Naomi Brooks is one of the strongest, kindest, most genuine people I've ever met. She works harder than anyone I know to provide for her niece. She turns flowers into art and struggle into grace. And I fell in love with her the moment she stood up to me and protected the child she loves. Naomi's vision blurred with tears. I don't expect her to forgive me. I don't even expect her to listen to this. But I need everyone in this room to know the only thief in this story was my own pride. The only liar was my family. And if there's any justice in this world, Naomi Brooks will never doubt her worth or her sister's honor again. He stepped off the stage as the crowd erupted in conversation. Naomi watched him disappear through a side door, her heart racing so fast she thought it might burst. "Go," Tara said, pushing her gently. "Go talk to him." "But, nay, that man just destroyed his family's reputation for you. The least you can do is hear him out." Naomi pushed through the crowd, ignoring the stares and whispers. She found Ethan in a quiet hallway, leaning against the wall with his eyes closed. "Ethan," his eyes flew open. "Naomi, you came." "Of course I came." Her voice shook. You just... I told the truth. He pushed off the wall. "I should have done it weeks ago. I should have protected you instead of doubting you. I'm so sorry." "You didn't send the investigator?" "No. That was Margaret." "All of it. The investigator, the child services complaint. She was trying to protect herself by hurting you." His hands clenched. "I confronted her. She's gone. Out of my life. For good. The ring belongs to Lila. Always did. I have all the paperwork proving it was sold legally, that your sister bought it fair and square. I'll give you copies. I'll give you whatever you need to prove her innocence." Naomi's knees felt weak. "Why? Why would you do all this?" "Because I love you." The words came out raw and honest. "Because you changed my life. Because when I'm with you and Lila, I remember what it feels like to be human instead of just going through the motions. Because you deserve better than what my family put you through. I blocked your number. I know. I said terrible things to you. I deserved them." "Ethan," her voice broke. "I'm scared. I'm so scared of trusting this. Of trusting you. Of believing this could actually work." "I know." He took a small step closer. "And I'm not asking you to trust me right now. I'm asking for a chance to earn that trust back, however long it takes. What if I can't? What if I'm too broken? Then we'll be broken together." His smile was sad and soft. "Naomi, I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be real and honest and willing to let me prove that I'm in this for keeps." She looked at him, really looked at him, saw the exhaustion and the hope and the love written plainly on his face, saw a man who'd faced his own family's sins and chosen her side. "I never stopped hoping," she whispered, "even when I was furious with you, even when I thought you'd betrayed me. I never stopped hoping you were telling the truth." "I was. I am." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand cupped her cheek. "I'm so sorry I gave you any reason to doubt that. Your stepmother said I don't belong in your world. Then we'll build a new world, one where we both belong." "That's a pretty line. It's a true line." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "I don't want my old world. I want you. And Lila. And flower stands and sandwiches on the porch and late-night texts about nothing important. That's the world I want to live in." Naomi felt her walls crumbling, felt hope flooding back in, stronger than fear. "I love you too. I tried not to, but I do." "Yeah?" His smile broke through like sunrise. "Yeah." She leaned into his touch. "I'm still scared, though." "Me too. We'll figure it out together." "Together," she repeated. The word felt like a promise. And when he kissed her, soft and sweet and full of second chances, Naomi let herself believe in possibilities again, in love that survived storms, in happy endings that didn't require perfection, just honesty and courage, and two people willing to fight for each other. 2 weeks later, Naomi was at her flower stand when Ethan's car pulled up, but this time he wasn't alone. "Ethan," she set down the roses she'd been trimming. "What's going on?" "I have a proposal. Business proposal," he clarified quickly. "Come look." He drove her to a vacant building on Main Street. Large windows, good bones, a for lease sign in the front. "What is this?" Naomi asked. "Your flower shop." Ethan pulled out a folder. "I've been talking to the owner. Reasonable lease. Enough space for a greenhouse in back. Room to grow." Naomi's heart raced. "Ethan, I can't afford—" "I'm not asking you to. I'm asking if you'd consider partnering with me. I provide the capital. You provide the expertise and the heart. We build something together." He looked nervous. "I've had my lawyers draw up papers. It would be a legitimate business partnership. Fair split. Your name on everything. I'm not trying to buy you or fix you or anything like that. I just want to help make your dreams real. She stared at the building, at the space that could hold plants and possibility, at a future bigger than just survival. Why? She asked again, the question she kept asking. Because watching you work with flowers is like watching someone pray. Because you deserve a chance to build something that's yours. Because I want to be part of your dream, if you'll let me. He handed her the folder. Look it over. Talk to Tara. Think about it. No pressure. The offer stands whether we're together or not. Naomi opened the folder. The numbers were fair, more than fair. This wasn't charity. It was partnership, respect. I need to think about it. Take all the time you need. But that night, sitting at her kitchen table with Tara, looking at the business plan Ethan had carefully prepared, Naomi felt something settle in her chest. Permission. Permission to dream. Permission to want more than just getting by. You're going to say yes, Tara observed. Am I crazy? Maybe. But it's a good kind of crazy. Tara squeezed her hand. He's trying, Nay. Really trying. And that proposal? That's about respecting who you are, not trying to change you. What if it fails? What if it doesn't? The question hung in the air, full of terrifying hope. 3 days later, Naomi called Ethan. I'm in. Let's build a flower shop. His shout of joy made her laugh for the first time in weeks. The next month was a blur of renovation and planning. Ethan insisted on fair terms for everything. Naomi insisted on earning her share. They compromised, negotiated, built something together that belonged to both of them. Brooks and Caldwell Flowers, Tara read from the sign mock-up, has a nice ring to it. We're not calling it that, Naomi said, but she was smiling. Why not? You're partners. We are. And the word still felt like a miracle. Ethan came by the construction site every day, usually with lunch, sometimes with Lila, who loved watching the progress. The three of them would sit on the floor eating sandwiches, making plans, laughing at paint colors. It felt like family. One evening, after Lila had fallen asleep on a pile of drop cloths, Ethan pulled Naomi outside to look at the stars. I have something for you, he said. Ethan, you've already... It's not a thing. It's a question. He took her hands, and she saw nervousness in his eyes. These past 2 months have been the best of my life, building this shop with you, spending time with you and Lila, learning what love actually looks like when it's real and messy and worth fighting for. Naomi's heart started racing. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out. But I also know I don't want to spend another day without you in it. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 small boxes. So, here's my question. He opened the first box. Inside was his father's ring, the ring that had started everything, cleaned and polished and gleaming. This ring belongs to Lila. I want her to have it officially, as a symbol that she's part of my family now, that she always will be. Tears spilled down Naomi's cheeks. Ethan opened the second box. A simple diamond ring, beautiful in its understated elegance. And this ring, I'm hoping belongs to you, if you'll have me. If you'll marry me and let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of your love. Ethan, I know I messed up. I know I have privilege and blind spots and family baggage, but I promise to keep learning, keep growing, keep choosing you and Lila every single day. His voice shook. Naomi Brooks, will you marry me? Yes. The word came out choked with tears and laughter. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. Then he kissed her under the stars, while construction dust sparkled in the streetlights like magic. We should wake Lila, Naomi said against his lips. Tell her about the ring. In a minute. He pulled her closer. Let me just hold you for a minute. So they stood there, 2 people from different worlds who'd found their way to each other through mystery and misunderstanding and love that refused to quit. And Naomi thought about her grandmother's garden, about seeds planted in faith, about how the most beautiful things grew from the hardest soil. 6 months later, on a perfect spring day, Naomi and Ethan were married in a garden behind their newly opened flower shop. White chairs lined paths between blooming roses. String lights hung from the trees. The sun painted everything gold. Lila walked down the aisle first, carrying a bouquet bigger than her head. Her mother's ring, Ethan's father's ring, glinted on her finger. She was grinning so wide it looked like her face might split. Tara followed, tears already streaming down her face. I told you so, she mouthed at Naomi. Naomi just laughed. Then it was her turn. She wore a simple white dress, flowers woven through her hair. No veil, no pretense, just Naomi being exactly who she was. Ethan waited at the altar, and when she saw his face, the love and awe and pure joy written there. Every doubt disappeared. Mr. Blake officiated, his voice warm with affection for both of them. "Love isn't about perfection," he said during the ceremony. "It's about two imperfect people choosing each other, choosing honesty over pride, choosing growth over comfort, choosing to build something beautiful from broken pieces." When it came time for vows, Ethan spoke first. "Naomi, you taught me that strength isn't about walls. It's about vulnerability. That family isn't about blood. It's about choice. That love isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. I promise to show up for you, to choose you, to honor the woman you are and the dreams you're building. I promise to be a good partner to you and a good father to Lila. I promise to keep growing, keep learning, keep loving you with everything I have." Naomi couldn't speak through her tears for a moment. Then, "Ethan, you came into my life at my lowest point and showed me it was possible to rise. You believed in my dreams when I'd forgotten how to dream. You fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. I promise to trust you, even when fear tries to build walls. I promise to let you in, even when it's scary. I promise to build a life with you that honors where we've been and celebrates where we're going. And I promise to love you, today, tomorrow, and every day after." Mr. Blake pronounced them husband and wife, and when Ethan kissed Naomi, the small crowd erupted in applause. Even Margaret Caldwell, sitting quietly in the back row, managed a small smile. She'd apologized, a real apology, and while things would never be perfect between them, it was a start. At the reception, Lila gave a speech that mostly consisted of, "I love Aunt Nay and Ethan, and can we get a puppy now?" The crowd roared with laughter. Tara's speech was longer and involved several embarrassing stories, but ended with, "To two people who proved that love can bridge any gap, heal any wound, and bloom in the most unexpected places." As the sun set, Ethan and Naomi danced under string lights, while their friends and family celebrated around them. "Happy?" Ethan murmured against her hair. Deliriously, she pulled back to look at him. "How did we get here? From that first day at my flower stand to this? The ring led me to you, but love made me stay." "That's very poetic for a businessman. I'm learning from my florist wife." He spun her gently. "Speaking of which, did you see the final numbers from last quarter? The shop is actually turning a profit. Are we really talking business at our wedding reception? We're partners. It's what we do." And it was true. They were partners in every sense, in business, in life, in love, building something together that was stronger than either of them alone. Later, as guests began to leave, Naomi found Lila asleep in a chair, her hand curled under her cheek. The golden ring, the ring that had started everything, caught the last rays of sunlight. "She's out cold," Ethan said softly, coming to stand beside her. "It's been a big day. The best day." He wrapped his arms around Naomi's waist. "Ready to start our life together? I've been ready since the moment you stopped at my flower stand. Even when you thought I was crazy. Especially then." She leaned back against him. "Besides, I was a little crazy too. Who else falls in love over a mystery ring? Two people who needed to find each other." Ethan kissed her temple. "The ring brought us together, but we chose to stay." Naomi looked at their shop, at the garden, at Lila sleeping peacefully, at Tara laughing with Mr. Blake. She looked at the life they'd built from nothing but hope and determination and love that refused to give up. "The ring found its way home," she whispered, echoing the words she'd spoken to Ethan once before. "No," he corrected gently, "we found our way home, to each other." And as stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Naomi knew he was right. This, all of this, was home. Not a mansion or a flower stand, or even the shop they'd built together. Home was wherever they chose to be, together. The ring had been the beginning of their story, but love, real, messy, beautiful love, would be the ending. And also, Naomi thought as Ethan's hand found hers, the beginning of everything else. The end